it's a pretty interesting story, frankly. It's definitely one that's kind of at the center of the zeitgeist right now with all the news going on around AI models and ChatGPT. You now have launched your own version.
Yeah, it's weird how that all works, right? In the last 2 months, they've really ramped up the narrative that AI needs to be regulated. And I haven't seen the remarks, but I'm told Biden said something or other today about regulating AI. And someone told me there's an executive order coming. And it's so noxious, man. It offends me. So I'm happy to enter the fray in any little way.
Yeah. So why don't you tell people about GatGPT, which, by the way, love the name.
Thank
you. You always have an eye for what I think is going to capture attention, in addition to the sort of the base reasons that you're doing these things. The political philosophy behind it. You also are pretty talented at actually making stuff that people are going to take notice of. But what's the difference between GatGPT and ChatGPT?
Good question. We compare answers a lot, actually, between the two models. And we've used ChatGPT in some of our Instruct data sets. It's easy to use AI to help you build AI. So ChatGPT is good for a lot of things. Their model is like, well, there's a lot to say here, but they combine a bunch of expertly trained separate models. You can think of this conceptually. We're only concerned about building a gun expert, right? This mind that really is first and foremost, the world's greatest expert and consolidator of gun texts and other information on the internet. That doesn't mean it can only do that, only do gun things. It has a base model, which is much like ChatGPT. You can ask it anything, talk to it about anything, and you get a ChatGPT-like experience. It's just that we know, you and I and other people know, that ChatGPT isn't supposed to talk to you about certain things, and will even kind of, in a postmodern way, make you feel a little guilty for asking it the wrong questions. And some of those questions involve guns, firearms. In our experience, in our application, you ask it, hey, tell me about this gun, or where can I buy a Chris Vector, or how do I build this? It says, sure, let me help you with that, and just gives you the answer without any of the postmodern bullshit.
Yeah, and I got a little bit of early access to this beta, and just directly compared some of the prompts that you guys put in there as examples for beta users versus running it through ChatGPT. And I did find exactly what you're talking about in terms of sometimes ChatGPT will tell you something. Like if you ask it kind of about the laws, or you ask it maybe opinions on what gun is good for a beginner, it'll give you a response. But if you ask it, what suppressor should I buy for my AR-15, it'll tell you I can't talk about that. And if you ask it why it can't talk about that, it'll say that it's only meant to talk about like happy things, basically, is kind of the answer you get. Yeah. And that, guns are controversial. And same deal if you ask it for instructions on how to build a gun, for instance. Obviously something that, you with the Ghost Gunner project and Defense Distributed generally are very interested in. Whereas if you ask GatGPT these questions, it will provide answers, right?
That's right. And, again, we're dedicated to that use case. And so we're spending a lot of time there, and our beta testers are going to be a part of that data audit and use case and improvement of the model. So just like ChatGPT, there will be changes and improvements we hope and expect, retraining of the base model, retraining of qualifier. Like, I don't know how deep to get into the AI specifics with you, but what we see is, okay, you can, to your point earlier, you can sweet talk ChatGPT and you can kind of tease things out of it, but this is just, this is a labor, this is a task. They're making it difficult, even at a conversational level, to approach certain topics or understandings. You could say this is intentional, or this is some kind of plot against the public. On one level, maybe, but on another level, just for corporate incentive reasons, and just the fact that they used a bunch of, let's say, Indian labor to label their data. They just absorb bad information and garbage about certain topics, which they hope to never have to talk about. So for reasons ideological and not, we're dedicating, the initial launch of this model to this very narrow set of use cases, because Google, Facebook, even before AI, don't want you to find this information, don't want you to understand our traditions, our history, how to make guns, even though these are legal activities. And so this is kind of our career, right? The last 10 years, we've just answered different versions of the same question. How do you help people do this stuff? How do you help them understand it? How do you introduce them or inculcate them in this culture, this activity? I think GatGPT is another answer to this question.